I'm not so sure that I would trust trading for the Steelers wide receiver specifically. You can't be this cocky, arrogant kid to NFL coaches like Brian Daboll or Mike Tomlin. Like, how would you spend a third first-round pick on this? So now you spent 3 first-round picks on 2 players. You better hope those motherfuckers are stars. I don't know if I believe in the Cowboys leadership they have in place. As players, as coaches, as a staff, as an owner. I don't know if I believe that they can keep George Pickens together if Mike Tomlin doesn't believe that the Steelers can do it. Welcome to episode 6 of the NFLMike's Corner full podcast. Today we have a loaded show for all of you. It is NFL Draft Fallout. It's been exactly 1 week since the draft. We're going to be going over some of my favorite picks, some of my least favorite picks. I'm going to be going on a deep dive, a complete review of my Chargers. As you guys know, Chargers fan. Full draft, going over pick by pick and giving grades for every single pick. And then I asked the AI robot to redraft the league if every team had to drop all their players. So the results to that will be revealed at the end of the podcast in the last segment. And man, it would shake things up for that. That's for damn sure. And it's also interesting to see how the AI decided what positions were of the most value and which positions weren't. We're starting off with NFL news, though. Before we get to the NFL draft talk, news broke this morning. If you haven't heard yet and you're living under a rock, them Dallas Cowboys traded for George Pickens. Here's the best case and worst case scenario for the George Pickens trade, in my eyes at least, and what I think possibly could happen. Best outcome for the Cowboys and worst outcome for the Cowboys. But anyways, going over the full trade here. The Dallas Cowboys are sending a 3rd round pick next year and a 5th round pick next year to the Pittsburgh Steelers for George Pickens. And the Cowboys somehow got a 6th round pick thrown in there as well. The capital in the deal obviously immediately screams the Cowboys won the crap out of this deal, right? Everyone is saying that on the internet. I'm seeing it everywhere. But I'm not so sure that I would trust trading for the Steelers wide receiver specifically. I don't think I would be so sure and so confident ever dealing with Mike Tomlin when it comes to wide receivers. Why? Mike Tomlin traded Santonio Holmes for a 5th round pick. He traded Martavius Bryant for a 5th round pick. He traded Antonio Brown. He traded Chase Claypool. Chase Claypool. Deontay Johnson out of town. George Pickens is the next in line of what Mike Tomlin does. And all those guys that I just talked about, everyone thought the Steelers got fleeced. Oh my God, the Bears just got Chase Claypool, a 1st round pick from a few years ago, for free. Oh my gosh. The Las Vegas Raiders just got Antonio Brown in his prime. Santonio Holmes to the Jets. It's going to change everything. They're going to be the best team ever. I don't know, man. I think in a lot of these deals, the Steelers are the ones that fleeced their opponents because the Steelers are the ones that hold the cards in all these deals. Mike Tomlin knows how to keep these guys under control. He knows how to keep them focused, locked in. It's a little bit easier in Pittsburgh than Dallas, too. So Mike Tomlin knows when he trades these guys, they're not going to be as good as they were with him. They aren't going to be able to keep it together the way they keep it together in Pittsburgh in a very steady situation with a steady head coach. And, more so for the Steelers than anything, what makes me mad about the deal on the Steelers side of things is they robbed us of the crash out season. Like we were saying, they robbed us of seeing some iconic moments where TJ Watt's losing his mind on the sideline, George Pickens loses his mind on the sideline, and we got DK Metcalf losing his mind on the sideline, and Aaron Rodgers is their freaking quarterback. Mike Tomlin was their coach. I mean, it would have been something that they make documentaries about, whether it went historically awful or amazingly, and the Steelers at least make the playoffs again or have another winning season for Mike Tomlin's streak to stay alive. So that's the one thing I don't like about it on the Steelers end. You lose George Pickens, and that sucks, but I don't think the Pittsburgh Steelers are that hurt by losing George Pickens because of the last receivers that I just listed. They have experience with this exact situation. They know how to deal with this, and they knew that George Pickens' contract was expiring very soon, and he probably was going to be allowed to walk to free agency anyway, so let's get something for him now while we can. And we already got his replacement in here with a big X-wide receiver in DK Metcalf. They don't really go well together in the Arthur Smith offense anyways. A lot of people said, oh, this almost guarantees George Pickens is going to get traded. Those people were absolutely right. For the Steelers also, before I move on to the Cowboys side of this and the worst and best outcomes here and how this could go for Dallas, who acquired the star player in this deal, obviously the more interesting side of it, what does this mean about Aaron Rodgers? Because if you were all in, right, Super Bowl or bust this year with Aaron Rodgers, because he's going to retire after, wouldn't you want as many receivers as you can possibly have? Wouldn't you want to have George Pickens and DK Metcalf opposite of each other on any given play? Even if they're not both on the field all the time at one time, because, the whole thing where a lot of times they have a slot receiver who's going to be Roman Wilson or whoever else, Calvin Austin maybe, and then you have an X wide receiver, and then you have 2 running backs and an extra tight end, maybe an extra lineman in the formation, and there just isn't room for George Pickens and DK Metcalf in the formation. This is the same problem the Chargers could have with a Keenan Allen signing, which I'm going to talk about Keenan Allen here in a second. Is Ladd, is that slot? QJ, Mike are outside. Now they just drafted Trey Harris, who can kind of do it all, play outside and inside. This isn't a Chargers episode, but we're going to talk about the Chargers draft class. I want the Chargers to sign Keenan Allen, and I will lose my mind. I'll be so excited if they sign him. But really, in the formation, Keenan Allen's volume and snaps are going to go down just by math. There isn't enough spots for all the receivers to play. That's the kind of situation that the Steelers would have been in. Now, I don't think that's a problem when you're bringing in Aaron Rodgers for a one-time, literal Hail Mary season. You actually are just throwing it up. Don't you want George Pickens and DK Metcalf down there to possibly catch it for Aaron? I would think so. So this is making me believe 2 things. 1, Aaron Rodgers is leaning towards Minnesota. And all it takes is the Vikings just to clarify that they need him. That right now, J.J. McCarthy has any questions, whether he's going to be ready to start the season for one. I think that he's going to be ready to start the season. But how much work is he going to get in leading into the season is really the question. And is he going to get the proper amount of work? Is he going to get the proper amount of warm-up into a season? You don't want to just rush a quarterback out there coming off a knee week 1, and he hasn't played any preseason, hasn't done any practice, anything. So is JJ going to be fully ready? I think that's what Aaron Rodgers is waiting on. I know that he's saying it's all about personal stuff and his relationship and all this stuff, but he's gone through relationships in the past and it's not really messed with his football negotiations. He hasn't said, I need to take a break from the Packers because of the NASCAR girlfriend. So, it might just be cover for Aaron Rodgers' situation right now, which is he's probably told the Steelers, if the Vikings say no and they want to go with JJ, once they evaluate his knee here in the next couple months, I'm coming to Pittsburgh. That's my only other option, right? But if the Vikings want me, I'm talking about Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. So, Steelers, I respect y'all enough to say this to your face. Go ahead and move as if I'm going to be there or not. You know what I mean? Go ahead and move for the future. Go ahead and move for the overall health of your team versus just push the chips in for my Super Bowl season, because I might be going to Minnesota Vikings for that. So that's one thing that I think it points to for Aaron Rodgers. I think also it could just point that the Steelers are going to be in the market for those wide receivers I just mentioned. Keenan Allen, I didn't say his name, but Amari Cooper is another one that I think the Steelers could be interested in signing to replace George Pickens and still get Aaron Rodgers, and that all makes sense, right? Now you got Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen in the slot, DK Metcalf outside. All of that goes together in the offense, fits well. You're going to get the most use out of those guys, and they're veterans, so you can move on after a couple of years. It would be perfect. It's exactly what the Steelers love to do. So I think that they're positioned here very well for whatever decision Aaron Rodgers makes, retire, Minnesota, Pittsburgh. Steelers are going to be sitting pretty in next year's draft to either draft a quarterback where they're at, trade up for a quarterback, whatever you want to do at that position from here, you can do it. Here's the thing, though. Since Ben Roethlisberger, they've shown that they have not been able to figure that out. So you got to draft the right guys still. That's how this really is going to pay off for Pittsburgh, is if they can trade up in next year's draft for the quarterback of their choice, and he pays off. For the Cowboys, though, I think that this could go very wrong or very right. I think that Dallas Cowboys fans could be saying, oh no, did we do this again and ruin this team? Or them Dallas Cowboys could be saying, hell yeah, just loaded with number 14 George Pickens jerseys, assuming that he's going to wear number 14. I think that this trade is still going to be up in the air, and it's not one that you can just say immediately is a win. They just won it right away. Like I thought some other deals that went down in the recent past the Cowboys just aren't really a complete team yet. I love what they're doing with O-line, investing in the O-line, rebuilding there. That is the core of your team's history, the core of your team's heart. I mean, that is what your franchise is that offensive line. So it's good to see the Cowboys investing in that, rebuilding that. I'm not just going to sit here and tell you that's going to happen in 1 or 2 years. Everyone's saying that the Tyler Booker, now you got 3 Tylers on the O-line, Tyler. And if all 3 of those guys end up being good, that is going to be some great content in the future. But Tyler Booker isn't just going to slide in there and be an all-pro guard and replace Zach Martin next year. That is insane to expect. And then when you look behind that in the running back room, I don't trust what the Cowboys have on their depth chart and on their roster right now to make it through a whole season at running back. I don't at all. And it's Blue, who they just drafted, who had a lot of injury concerns. That's why he fell in the draft. But he is electric. He has the chance to be a 3-down back if he could stay healthy. There's no reason to believe that he will until he does. And then Javonte Williams, who hasn't stayed healthy in the NFL either and hasn't been consistently good in the NFL, if we're being honest. So those 2 guys running behind an O-line that is being rebuilt the right way, I think, but is being rebuilt. I don't know if I trust this Dallas rushing attack to be able to force teams to play soft coverage on CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. So, yeah, I am going to be eyeing who is going to be the running back out of the Dallas backfield. He may not be on the roster right now because J.K. Dobbins is still available. Nick Chubb is still available. That will be a great flyer to take because you're already risking it on injured guys. Might as well risk it on an injured superstar possibly. I think that either one of those guys could really have a great season behind that Dallas O-line that's rebuilding and face a lot of light boxes because of what they just added at wide receiver. But right now, what you added at wide receiver can't be used to its max value because you're just going to face cover 3 all freaking game. You're going to face 3 deep, 2 deep, every single play until they really develop that run game. And I think that they have the pieces there to start. And that's a good sign for the Cowboys, but it is a concern for me for this immediate season and going forward because George Pickens is mad, easily angered. And CeeDee Lamb is not the calmest. I think CeeDee Lamb's energy is a little bit different than Pickens. Pickens is very much like, throw me the ball and I'm going to go score a touchdown. And CeeDee Lamb is more like, hey, let's get everything together. We as a team aren't doing right. That's when he really gets pissed, more so than them not throwing him the ball enough. And George Pickens is flat out, you're not throwing me the ball enough. And that kind of worries me a little bit when you're trying to develop an offensive line and maybe a run-first offense like we're used to seeing the Cowboys have. Pickens' talent is undebatable, but there is 2 things that are worrying me even more than the running back and the offensive line situation because I do think that those 2 things are in the works. I think by 2026, it's going to be good. They're going to have one of the best O-lines in football if Tyler Booker works out. And they're going to find a running back. It's the Cowboys. They have to find a running back. I wish they would have invested more in this position, actually, because if they had a star running back, I would feel a lot better about the younger O-line, right? Because then you have someone to kind of have great experience, ball carrier vision, to still work with what he's got. But you're going to be putting in you're telling me Javonte Williams, if he could stay healthy, or a rookie who also can't stay healthy behind that O-line. I don't have as much confidence as Cowboys fans, for sure. But I think that the main thing is with George Pickens, like I'm saying, is the crash outs. Mike Tomlin traded this guy not because of his talent. His talent is undebatable. So that way I can get it out smoothly. His talent is undeniable. His talent jumps out if he runs routes versus air. That's how freaking talented George Pickens is. He's as good as CeeDee Lamb. This might be the best wide receiver duo in the NFL immediately if they can keep it all together. I don't have confidence in Schottenheimer, the new Dallas Cowboys head coach, which people forget about, that Mike McCarthy's out of there, as I would have Mike McCarthy. And I don't have as much confidence in him, definitely as much confidence as I would have in Mike Tomlin to steer this kind of ship. And Mike Tomlin is saying, I'm going to pass on trying to steer that kind of ship because he has DK Metcalf. He could sail that ship. And he's saying, nah, I don't think I could do it. But Schottenheimer's saying, I'll try. Let's see how this goes. And you expect me to fully believe in the leadership there in Dallas. Also, I have personal up-close experience at Dallas Cowboys practice, man. I've been to Rams practice. I've been to 49ers practice. I've been to Raiders practice. I've been to Chargers practice a bunch of times with Harbaugh, with Staley. I've been to, Sean McVay practices, Mike McCarthy practices. Like I said, when you go to a Dallas Cowboys practice, it just doesn't feel the same as the other practices. The star players, for one, don't practice. They don't ever practice. I've been to now 5, 6, 7 Cowboys training camp practices throughout 5 years of creating content here in Oxnard, California. And I've seen CeeDee Lamb practice once. I've seen Micah Parsons practice in full 0 times. I've seen Dak Prescott practice in full like twice. And they don't report these things. I am sitting there looking at the report of them saying that this guy that's not practicing fully in front of me is practicing fully. To me, that just shows like a lack of a competitive edge in Dallas, and they don't realize that there's a problem. And you don't really notice it unless you go to all of the training camps. And you see the differences in every snap, in every rep, in every drill. You could see it. The differences in Dallas versus LA are, at least, the things picked up when we got Harbaugh. Staley was a lot of the same complaints when the Chargers, had him. And I was going to those practices and just trying to ignore what I'm seeing with my own eyes. So I really do enjoy going to a Sean McVay practice more than any coach that I've seen. It really just feels like a college football practice, but with rich people who are having a blast. So, and just competitive, just super uber competitive. Every year I go. This is a 1-year thing. This has been every year, year after year. It has been the most impressive practice at all of the training camps that I go to every year. And you guys know I go on a tour every single season. So I don't know if I believe in the Cowboys leadership they have in place as players, as coaches, as a staff, as an owner. I don't know if I believe that they can keep George Pickens together if Mike Tomlin doesn't believe that the Steelers can do it. Just something to think about. So that worries me a shit ton. And then the second thing that worries me the most, Chase Claypool to the Bears. Why did that fail? I mean, Chase Claypool's obviously super overrated, but also, who was the quarterback of that team? He's not anymore. I think they've had 3 quarterbacks since then. When they traded Antonio Brown to the Raiders, who was the quarterback of that team? I don't think he's the quarterback anymore. I think they've had 3 quarterbacks since then. When they traded any of those wide receivers, Deontay Johnson, he's been on 2 or 3 teams since then. Didn't go anywhere where he could do anything. The Steelers know what they're doing. They wouldn't trade George Pickens if there wasn't a reason. So, I don't know, man. I don't know if Dak is going to be the level quarterback. And let me just get this off my chest. I love Dak Prescott. I love him as a person. I have this cowboy hat because of Dak Prescott. I got this. Originally, I bought this for a Dak Prescott skit years ago. I had him as my MVP in 2022, I think. I am not a Dak Prescott hater like the rest of them. But I am coming down to earth a little bit that I do defend athletes that personally I like because they're great humans with great stories. I back them a little too hard sometimes when they show those glimpses that they could potentially develop into elite players. And that's what I saw in Dak early on. I don't know if it was the injuries. I don't know if it's just the coaching, the experiences with losing, tragically over and over and over again. But Dak doesn't feel like the same quarterback he was. As a rookie, his trajectory did not go perfectly to what he did his rookie year. And him and Zeke should have been a dominant duo during that time. And it didn't quite fully come to fruition at the level that Dallas could have reached with Dak Prescott. And I just feel like there isn't much more of a team you can put around him than the teams you've already built. Some of the elite O-lines Dallas has had over the last 10 years. Some of the elite running back play that they've had over the last 10 years. Some of the elite wide receiver play that they've had over the last 10 years. We're talking about Dez Bryant, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper, Ezekiel Elliott coming out the backfield. Tony Pollard, one of the best fantasy seasons we've seen out of running back over the last couple of years was when Pollard was with Dallas. I mean, we have to really look at the Cowboys roster right now and understand how young it is. Understand that if you look at it as a non-Cowboys fan, they are not the second best team in the NFC East right now with George Pickens, team-wise. And it's a competitive conference and it's a competitive-ass division. You're going to compete with Jaden Daniels. You're going to compete with Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley and the Philadelphia Eagles. You're going to need a complete team more than you're going to need George Pickens. You're going to need a defense. And they're going to need to retain Micah Parsons. That's one massive thing on the Cowboys' agenda this offseason or next, one of the two. And you're going to have to start throwing draft picks at the secondary. You're going to have to start figuring out the linebacker. Like, they have problems on the defensive side of the ball personnel-wise that they still need to overcome before I really fully believe in this Cowboys team. The offensive line is super young, and then I just keep going back to it. Dak Prescott is a slightly above average quarterback, and I always used to argue that he's top 10, and I still think he's on the edge. I still think he's top 15, maybe 14, somewhere around there. But if the Cowboys want to go to the next level, if you want to get the most out of a Pickens-CeeDee Lamb pairing, for one, you got to sign Pickens, keep them together long term. And for two, you're going to need a quarterback there that can deliver on the ball. And then three, you're going to need the cap space to keep the O-line together and the defense. And just all that doesn't really make sense when the Cowboys are 24th in 2026 in cap space with Dak Prescott's contract coming up, which they just signed, by the way. And then they're 29th in cap space the year after that. And they haven't signed Micah Parsons, and they haven't signed George Pickens. And this entire O-line is on the rookie deals right now. All of them are going to need to be signed eventually. It's all going into Dak. And if you just get a rookie quarterback in there, he could probably perform at a similar level. And then by halfway through the season, this rookie quarterback's going to be selling as many jerseys as Dak too, just because he's a Cowboy. If he has any success, throwing up Hail Marys to George Pickens, baby. And see you left. Speaking of Hail Marys and where the Dallas Cowboys should go with this, I think they're going to obviously field Dak this year. But in 2026 and 2027, it doesn't really make sense to me. And unless Dak literally goes on a Super Bowl run or NFC title run with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb, I don't see the justification long-term that they're going to let Pickens and Parsons go and keep Dak. And that's really what's going to happen. We all keep saying the cap is imaginary, it doesn't exist. Tell my Chargers that. Tell all these teams that have lost these star players recently that. Players age. And they want that last payday. The smart teams don't give it to them. They trade them. That's what happens. And Dak Prescott is looking for his last payday. You need to trade him. And there are teams in the league that will trade for him and will take the whole contract because this is the market of the quarterbacks right now. We have a QB shortage on our hands. Half the league's quarterback position is completely in flux. They have no idea what they're doing over the next 5 years right now. And then 8, they have a direction they're going in, but it could go wrong in any minute. They're not winning anything. And then like 5 to 7 have locked-in situations where your quarterback's going to be your franchise guy. That's not what I'm used to. I'm used to a league with Rivers and Roethlisberger and Brady and Manning and Breeze and Ryan and the list goes on, and Cam Newton and Andrew Luck, and the list goes on and on and on. I'm used to there being very limited quarterback spots, actually. And right now we have a QB shortage. We have half the jobs completely wide open and being competed for long term as we speak right now while you're watching this video. So, someone will trade for Dak Prescott is the moral of my story. Someone traded for Russell Wilson. Someone traded for Daniel Jones. Someone traded for Jared Goff. I mean, that would be the perfect deal. If they can find a disgruntled elite quarterback that wants out of their current situation and they can trade Dak in the deal and they can get the elite quarterback and that will take them to the next level and make them a Super Bowl team. But what I think the Cowboys should do, let's let this Dak thing play out one more season. Like I said, if we go on a crazy run, we'll reevaluate our plan. But the plan should be right now that if Dak sucks this year, bench him. It sounds harsh. If Dak sucks, if the Cowboys aren't good by week 8, put Joe Milton in there and see what happens. Because Joe Milton and his talent and his skill set fits so perfectly with George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. And I want to see this kid play with those guys. I do. I just want to see it happen at least one game. Next season, the year after that, I don't care. I know what the Cowboys were trying to do with Trey Lance. They were trying to find something to leverage against Dak Prescott in negotiations. And they already got the deal signed with Dak. You trade for Joe Milton, a very similar situation to Trey Lance. It's like the Cowboys are looking for an athletic quarterback to replace Dak Prescott that doesn't have the injuries, that can still move like he's 23 or 24. And Joe Milton is so perfect. He really is. He has the big arm. It's all there. I know he's got a wild arm. He's got the Anthony Richardson effect going, but I think he might even have a better accuracy, at least, than Anthony Richardson. I think Joe Milton might do something with the Cowboys if he can get in there, and then you got a guy on a rookie deal for, 2 or 3 more years still. That's something the Cowboys should really think about, but you got to pull the trigger soon, because Joe Milton's not just going to sit in town and be a backup forever. You can't just have Dak waste 3 more years of this. I would make the execution. I would make the move, like I said, midway through the season if things are going bad again, or if Dak gets hurt, or next offseason. Trade Dak And we can run with Joe Milton. We can draft somebody. Or like I said, trade for an elite veteran that gets disgruntled or pissed off with his team. There's going to be some. There's some every year. And the Cowboys will be a top tier destination for any of those guys. So best case possible, I think, I should say best outcome possible involves the Cowboys getting rid of Dak Prescott. It does. So that way they can keep Micah Parsons and they can sign more guys. And then keep the O-line together long term. It's unfortunate, but it's the truth. Worst possible outcome, they keep Dak Prescott. He can't feed George Pickens like they need him to. The Cowboys are just average still. It's exciting to watch. George Pickens is out there catching passes down the field and CeeDee Lamb's going off, but the Cowboys keep losing in shootouts because they don't have a defense or don't have a run game, can't close games out at the end of games. Whatever it might be, Dak Prescott chokes, straight up those picks. You fill in the blank at what could go wrong or what has gone wrong for the Cowboys. That continues to happen even with George Pickens on the team because it happened with Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb on the team. I think that the Cowboys overall won this trade as of today, but it could age poorly. Like all the other Steelers trades that we've seen age poorly in the past. All right, let's get into some NFL draft fallout talk here. We're starting off with the retirement number issue. But first, before we talk about the entire NFL draft and break everything down, make sure you don't forget to subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications so you can be here every time I post. If you've never met me before, hi, I'm NFLMike, an NFL content creator that creates NFL content 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and twice on Sundays. If you're an NFL fan, you will love the channel. We bring daily NFL uploads, constantly putting up shorts and stuff. I like to pride myself as an NFL controversialist. Did I say that right? I hope I said that right. But I like to pride myself as someone that likes to get people talking. I don't care if it's about things I agree with, things I disagree with. I'm going to get you talking. I'm going to get you thinking. I'm going to get you going, what? That's that, is that, and that's connecting to that, and this is that. Just like we're talking about here with these retirements. And this is a conversation that has come up now this week because of the lack of numbers available for some of these rookies to get. And some of these rookies who, like Abdul Carter, have iconic jersey numbers are being denied their jersey number. So let's get into this, exactly what is going on with this retired jersey issue. And when I brought this up in a TikTok, it went to the absolute moon. It's still going viral right now, so I just wanted to explain myself further. Now, I don't think Ashton Genty's going to have a hard time getting number 2 off Jamarcus Russell. And I was thinking about Shedeur Sanders, but mad respect to Shedeur, but Shedeur getting number 2 off Johnny Manziel. Shedeur actually is going to be wearing number 12. He changed his number. So, mad respect to him. He didn't tell, I think it's DeAndre Carter, who has number 2 on the Browns. He didn't tell him, get up out my number, bro, as a 5th round pick. He's being humble. He's going to wear Tom Brady's number instead. But hey, that's better than trying to tell people and move your weight around already when you first walk in and you're the second quarterback drafted on that team in that draft class. So mad respect to Shedeur for just changing his number and not even raising a fuss about it online at all. I know that Dallas Clark's jersey isn't retired, but Tyler Warren hasn't officially gotten number 44 or announced what number he's going to wear. I assume it has something to do with that. They're still deciding whether or not they want to do that because you'd think that Dallas Clark's jersey is going to be retired compared to everyone else's jerseys that are retired, but it hasn't been retired yet. And then Warren Moon was another big one that was in the news. He wasn't going to let Cam Ward wear the number 1 for the Titans. But he came to the realization that, for one, I probably shouldn't, hold a young quarterback back from wearing a number that he's made synonymous in college. That's for one. It's not a good look for Warren Moon. It's not a good look for Titans fans' opinions of Warren Moon. So obviously he's aware of that. And then also, Warren Moon said that he realized I was the Houston Oilers number 1. I played in the 80s, bro. I played in the 90s. We're talking about 30 years ago now. I shouldn't be preventing a number 1 overall pick who wore number 1 in college coming to my former team from wearing number 1. And they're not even my former team because, again, played for the Houston Oilers. So, mad respects to Warren Moon. He is letting Cam Ward wear number 1. But Abdul Carter did not have the same kind of luck or success with trying to set up his jersey number for this season. It was tough. First one he wanted was LT's number, which is a little bit out of pocket. I will say. I will give you that. Because LT is a football immortal. And I think that's where I draw the line in this topic. If you're a football immortal, I can rock with retiring your number a little bit more. Tom Brady, Lawrence Taylor. There's only a few, man. Jerry Rice? I would say Joe Montana, but Brady's kind of surpassed Montana. No one's really surpassed Rice as the greatest wide receiver of all time yet. I don't know, man. I don't think that I would want to see 22 retired, or 21 retired, or 34 retired for Walter Payton. No. And it is for the Bears. The Bears, who are, I think, the second most retired numbers. They have 14 retired numbers or something. The Giants have 14 retired numbers. Then you think about the 53-man roster. Then you think about the expanded practice squad roster each team has to carry. Then you think about the number restrictions by position. You can see how having 15 retired numbers for a team sport this big could start to become a huge problem. So Abdul Carter got rejected by Lawrence Taylor, respectfully. Lawrence told him, go ahead. Start your own number. He even told him he could wear a 00 if he wanted to. So Abdul Carter went and asked Phil Simms instead. I want to see Micah Parsons and Abdul Carter in the same division, rocking that same number as basically football twins, wrecking quarterbacks in the NFC East. It could be historic. But then he said his family vetoed it, and now he's saying no. He won't unretire the number. Phil Simms won't unretire the number. Those Giants teams were great. He had a great Super Bowl performance, too. But they were defensive-headed, right? Everyone remembers it. I wasn't alive, but I've watched it back. Lawrence Taylor was on those teams. And basically he's telling Abdul Carter the same thing that LT told him, like, go ahead and wear 00 if you have to. But Brian Burns is already wearing 0. Malik Neighbors is wearing number 1. Jackson Dart's probably going to wear number 2. Or Deontay Banks is going to stay number 2, and Jackson Dart's going to take number 4. Russell Wilson is going to be number 3. Number 5, which is one of my favorite numbers. Kayvon Thibodeau is rocking number 5. Someone's got 6. Someone's got 7. Someone's got 8. Someone's got 9. You go to the 90s. Almost all of the 90s are taken by current players. So if Abdul Carter wants a traditional defensive lineman, 90, whatever, he's going to have to boot one of those guys out. And he's not booting out Sexy Dexy. So there goes 97, which is a popular edge rusher number, right? You can't go 92. Michael Strahan's got that one retired. He's going to deny you next. Although I think Michael Strahan might let him wear it if he asked. But you get my point. Abdul Carter has no jersey that really makes sense to him. He's going to have to pick a random number. I think that's a shame. And I don't think we should have the number 3 overall pick having to pick a random number. And a lot of people say, "Oh, who gives a shit about the number? Just let the guy go play. Go play football. Go do your thing. Doesn't matter what freaking number you're wearing." It's like, all right, bro. All right. Tell me you're from the 80s without telling me you're from the 80s. Like, we care about how football looks these days. Obviously, all the visual effects, all the technology, everything we do to make it visually entertaining, pleasing, shareable, all of that. And then you're going to have Abdul Carter, number 69, edge rushing. I don't know how you guys can defend it at this point. There's too many retired numbers. I think for the football immortals, sure, keep the numbers retired. Lawrence Taylor, Tom Brady. We're talking about just a select 5 players, 10 players max in the entire league. Should we retire numbers? I honestly wouldn't even retire Tom Brady's number. Because in the AFC East right now, the Dolphins have the number 12 retired for Bob Greasy. The Bills have it retired for Jim Kelly. The Patriots have it retired for Tom Brady. And the Jets have it retired for Joe Namath. Huh? You're telling me that the most popular QB number will never be worn in the AFC East again? You think there's going to be no kid growing up that was a big Tom Brady fan or a fan of Tom Brady that wears number 12 in the future? You don't think any of those kids are going to want to wear number 12 growing up? I got a news flash that they're going to want to wear number 12 growing up. They're going to want to wear number 12 if they become the franchise quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. But Bob Greasy's got number 12. So tough shit, kid. You're not going to get to keep that legacy and that iconic number on the field. It's not going to happen because we need to retire these jerseys. I don't get it. I don't get the reasoning behind it either. I understand in basketball where it's a 5-man on the court at once. I don't understand when there's 20 people on the field at once and 53 on the roster at once at all. I think that passing the numbers down could start a tradition that's even better than the retired number tradition. Because look at what the Cowboys do with the 88, the number 88. They keep passing down the receivers. I mean, this whole conversation has started from the Penn State handing down number 11, right? From LeVar Arrington to Navarro Bowman to eventually Micah Parsons and then Abdul Carter. From Michael Irving to Dez Bryant to CeeDee Lamb, it even goes back to Drew Pearson. Like, the number 88 has a history that comes down. Remember, like, every time CeeDee Lamb makes a huge play, and it's very similar to a Michael Irving play, you can bring up Michael Irving. Even when Michael Irving's long gone. Whoever's after CeeDee Lamb, 3 receivers from now for the Cowboys, we're going to be talking about CeeDee Lamb like, man, this kid's like CeeDee Lamb. 88 on the field. Or we could just keep hanging him in the rafters and never talking about him again. Which one would you rather see happen? I want to see the one where these guys wear great numbers. The Raiders are the other team that does not retire jerseys, or they would probably have every jersey number retired, like some of these other teams. The Baltimore Ravens and Houston Texans, they don't really have a tradition here where they say, oh, we don't retire jerseys, but they haven't retired any yet. I think just because of timing. We haven't seen Ray Lewis's jersey retired yet, and we haven't seen J.J. Watt's jersey retired yet, but let's see if they put anyone in those 2 numbers. They haven't done that either. I don't know exactly how to handle it, but I think that the Cowboys are finally on to something for once. But I guess sooner rather than later, the commissioner is going to have to step in, or the teams are going to have to step in, because in a couple generations, we're going to run out of numbers, and the numbers won't lie.
He selects Kenneth Grant, defensive tackle. There we go. There we go.
What if I told you that the Colts are celebrating like they won the Super Bowl in this clip because they might have? The Super Bowl missing piece was drafted at 14th or 15th, wherever the Colts were drafting. I don't know. But there's a trend going on at the NFL draft and at the Super Bowl that I've been following really closely over the last couple of years, and I'd like to bring it to you guys and have you let me know what you think. I think I might have found out what the position is that you need to fill in order to go to the Super Bowl. Look at this. Check this out. Really think about it when you look at Super Bowl history, right? What position has always been strong? Go back to Super Bowl 1. Go back to the early days. John Mackey, Marv Fleming, these guys were iconic tight ends of their time, and they both won multiple Super Bowls with their teams. Flash forward maybe another generation forward. Go to the Super Bowl 20s or so. Brent Jones with the 49ers. I think he won multiple Super Bowls, right? 2 Super Bowls. He's a part of a dynasty at tight end. Keep going. Let's talk about another Cowboys run. Another Cowboys tight end. Jay Novacek. What? 3-time Super Bowl champ. A part of another borderline, possibly dynasty, as you say. I don't think that they were close enough together, were they? Cowboys fans, let me know. Jay Novacek, key to a dynasty or no? You keep going. Go into the late 90s. Back-to-back Super Bowl wins by the Broncos to close out the century. 1998, 1999. Everyone remembers John Elway, right? Everyone talks about John Elway, the helicopter spin in the Super Bowl to beat Brett Favre. They don't talk about who his tight end was. I know you know who it was. Shannon Sharpe. Shannon Sharpe was the tight end back then. He's still doing things that revolve around tight ends, but Shannon Sharpe was the tight end back then for those back-to-back Super Bowls. And then 2 years later, Shannon Sharpe leaves the Broncos, goes to the Ravens, and they win the Super Bowl too. So 3 out of 4 years, Shannon Sharpe was a part of Super Bowl winners. And then, do you remember Heath Miller? Dallas Clark, who we've already mentioned in the podcast earlier today. How about Jeremy Shockey? Dennis Pitta? Let's keep going. No, really. There is a tight end on every single Super Bowl team, it seems like. Do you remember a guy by the name of Rob Gronkowski? Part of all those Super Bowl teams? What about even after Gronk? You keep going. A lot of people talk about the Philly special in that Super Bowl. Everyone talks about the Philly special in that Super Bowl. But no one talks about the Superman game-winning touchdown from Zach Ertz, which is hanging in the Hall of Fame. Very front when you first walk in, right to the right. Don't ask how I know. Also, I'll be at the Hall of Fame game this year if anyone else is Charger fans that want to go and see Antonio Gates get inducted into the Hall of Fame. Speaking of tight ends, I wish Antonio Gates could have been on this list of Super Bowl winning tight ends. Maybe have replaced Travis Kelce, who's won 3 Super Bowls at the tight end position. You see what I'm saying here. And when I went back and I looked at all the Super Bowls, right? Looked at every winner and every loser. 89% of the Super Bowls had a tight end on either side, either the loser or the winner of the Super Bowl, NFC or AFC, who was a top 10 tight end at their time. 89% of Super Bowls. 72% of the Super Bowl winners so far in history have had a top 10 tight end at their time, undebatably, on the roster, in the game, playing, starting. And I didn't even bring up guys like George Kittle, who's been in multiple Super Bowls. It's insane. It is insane to think about when you sit here and you go, wait, I can't remember any Super Bowl that didn't have a star tight end in it. Is this the key? Is this the missing piece? Are the Colts celebrating like they won the Super Bowl in that clip because they did? It's a possibility. When you look at this trend and how it's going down, teams are starting to also draft tight ends in the first round. Now that hasn't quite worked out exactly as well as some of these tight ends that I just listed, like Kyle Pitts, obviously, is the most infamous one that people talk about. They also, you got Brock Bowers, who just came out of the draft last year, who kind of proves it right. Says, okay, this guy worked out of the first round at tight end. But then you got stories like Eric Ebron, or you got these random first-round tight ends that just don't work out at all. At all. This is why the Chargers really need to look at tight end. They really do. Because I think that the Chargers, they could really use their Vernon Davis. And the Chargers did draft someone, 6'6" tight end out of Syracuse in the 5th round this year. But I'm not going to be sitting here and holding my breath for 5th round tight ends. So I'm hoping the Chargers find their missing piece as well, like the Colts did with Tyler Warren, which I thought was a great landing spot for Warren. Shane Steichen's offense kind of is perfect for this guy that can block, come off play action, get wide open down the field, catch the ball, get in open space, make a lot happen in the yak. He can do it all, really. Very George Kittle-esque. It's perfect for Shane Steichen's offense, which I think is going to be Jonathan Taylor-led next year. So you're going to get a lot of those times where Tyler Warren gets a linebacker, he gets a great mismatch, and that play action. The question is going to be, can the quarterback get him the ball? And with Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones there, I don't know for sure what's going to happen. That position is very much in flux for the Colts right now. If you tell me that Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback of the Colts, hell yeah. I'd be in on Tyler Warren's rookie year in fantasy football. But I think I'd probably be holding off from the rookie year. I'm going to wait and see what happens. I don't know if it has as much potential to be as great as Brock Bowers because he's not the only guy on the offense. It's going to be a run-first offense. I don't know if the Colts are going to be as bad as the Raiders, playing down in as many games as they were to throw it to Brock Bowers, have him catch a 70-yard touchdown for no reason, put it on the stat sheet, and show off for everybody in the stadium as well. So I think that is an issue for the Colts that could hold back the Tyler Warren to the Super Bowl take or Tyler Warren to the Super Bowl draft pick. But another tight end that got drafted right on the edge of the top 10 that landed in the perfect spot is Colston Loveland to the Chicago Bears. And Colston Loveland reminds me so much of Jimmy freaking Graham. This guy is a basketball player out on the football field. He's not as good a blocker as Tyler Warren, but he's super underrated. And Harbaugh didn't recruit this guy because he's a pussy. He recruited this guy because he's an absolute madman in the blocking game. He puts all effort into it at very minimum. He is going to be a top tight end in the league if his quarterback situation can click. But I feel a lot better about the Bears. I feel a lot better about Ben Johnson than I do Shane Steichen. I feel a lot better about Caleb Williams' outlook than I do Daniel Jones, than I do Anthony Richardson. And I think that the Bears are heading in the right direction as a team. And what they did this offseason could flip that thing very quickly. I don't know if they're going to compete for that division right away with how good it is in that division. You got the Vikings, the Packers, the Lions to compete with. But I think they are going to show some signs of life immediately this year. And Caleb Williams is going to be a much better quarterback. I still think Caleb Williams has as high a potential at quarterback as anyone. I still think he has first overall pick payoff. I think it's still there. We'll see if I'm right or if I'm wrong, but I think that the Bears are the ones that might have actually found the missing piece to their offense versus the Colts. How I started the video, but although the Colts, great pick. I mean, I think they were probably going to be going Loveland. I wanted the Chargers to get Loveland to slide to him somehow, but every single time I did my mock draft, I could not see them see either tight end getting past the Colts. And sure enough, they took them. So we'll see if this ends up being their missing piece. We'll see if this gets them into that 89th percentile Super Bowl runs with first-round tight ends, not even first-round tight ends, just top 10 great tight ends of their time periods. We will see. You ever wonder why even the biggest, scariest, strongest men on earth break down and cry like little babies on draft night? Well, because it is actually impossible to get to the NFL. So I ran some numbers and I calculated how many stages you have to get through and found the exact percentage, if you work your ass off and become an all-world athlete, the exact percent chance that you can make it to the NFL. The exact percent chance that you can have an NFL career, and the exact percent chance that you could be a Hall of Famer. Now, obviously, this isn't to an exact science. There's no math on this, but I did do a study. It started with 340 million Americans and narrowed it down to the 5 Hall of Famers that are inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame every single season, and I have a percentage for each layer as we go down. So let's get into this. Let's break this down real quick. Get comfortable, because this is going to blow your mind a little bit, and this is going to make you understand why these guys are so emotional, like they won the lottery, because they did. They literally won the lottery. Anyways, 340 million Americans spread across the country right now, and only about 1.5 million try out football each year, or are playing youth football actively each year. We're talking about Pop Warner, middle school, and then junior varsity. 1.5 million people try football to begin with. That is 100% of the total pie. All of the football players that start as kids. 1.5 million. That's 100%. 19% is what I meant to say of those players from Pop Warner through middle school, or even if they start in junior varsity, end up making it to the Friday Night Lights. 19% of those make it to starting varsity, make it to playing their senior year as seniors in high school. Talking about 19% of 1.5 million. So what are we saying? 300,000 of those make it to the level that's easiest to get to. The level I made it to. The level you probably made it to. That most Joes and Mikes that just want to try football out make it to. You usually, as a senior, will play, right? You wait, and as long as you love football enough, you will eventually get your chance to play under the Friday Night Lights. That's just 19%, right? And then out of those players, 5% of the total football player pie make it to getting scouted, to getting to college. 5% make it to the next level, make it to the NCAA. I didn't even make it past this stage. This is where I drop out. So if you were a college football athlete, you're in this 5% of total football players, which is already like not even 1% of total Americans. So keep that in mind. And of those 90,000 that are picked up by colleges and scouted and told you have at least a spot on the team, to a scholarship, to an NIL deal, of those 90,000, brace yourself. 6,500 approximately are scouted by the NFL. 0.41% of the original total amount of football players make it to where they get looked at, where they get scouted, right? And of those 6,000, only half of those players, 3,500 or so, enter the NFL draft pool every year. So now we're down to 0.2% of total players that try football as a kid, like you and me, even get to enter into the draft. And you know where it goes from there. 277, 257, it changes each year based off comp picks a little bit. That's the only amount of draft picks that are available in the draft. That's 0.02% of the total football players that are available to be drafted. So when these guys get drafted, they have a 1 in 100,000 chance to get, a 1 in 1 million chance to get there. Is that Braun Breaker math? I will break down in tiers too. They also, if you get drafted in the first round, just became millionaires. So that's something to celebrate. But from there, it gets even crazier because I kept going. I didn't want to just stop there at the draft. I wanted to see what percentage of players get drafted, get on their teams, make it through training camp multiple times, end up becoming starters, end up becoming star players, end up getting signed to a second contract, and end up being established players in the NFL. Digging just a little bit deeper, just out of curiosity, because the whole thing was to figure out why these guys break down in tiers like babies. And it's clear because you have a 0.02% chance if you work your ass off to even get to this point. If you work your ass off. We're not taking the hard work ethic part into this, and most of you motherfuckers are too lazy for this even to have a 1% chance from the start, from day one. So you already have to work your ass off to have a 0.02% chance to get drafted, and that 0.02% chance comes true. Of course, you're going to be emotional, and to become an established NFL player with an actual career, only like 150 or 125 of the players drafted on average each year end up making it. Most of them end up being not bust because you draft them in the 5th plus round, but they just end up being practice squad players that are eventually cut. Their football careers are over in a couple years. And you don't even know that they were there, really, other than when they get their name called. Or if you go to practice and you actually see it in person. 0.009% of football players that start as Pop Warner, put on the helmet and pads, have established NFL careers. And of those, I think 55 or so, 60. No, it's more. It's maybe more like 80. 80 picked to the Pro Bowl each year, let's say. Let's be generous. That's 0.00005% of total players. And you even boil it down a little bit more than that, and go to the 25 players each year that are selected to the All-Pro rosters. The chances of becoming All-Pro, if you work your ass off, I got to keep saying that, is 0.00016%. And if you do all of that, your ultimate goal, right, to make the Hall of Fame, you do all of that multiple times. You can't just be an All-Pro once. You can't just be an All-Pro twice. You can't just be an All-Pro 3 times. You probably got to be an All-Pro 4 times, or win Super Bowls, or have iconic moments, or something to stand on. You might be eligible to be one of the 5 to 8 Pro Football Hall of Famers that are inducted into the Hall of Fame each year, which gives you a 0.00031% chance to make it to the Hall of Fame one day if you work your ass off from Pee Wee football, the 1.6 million that try Pee Wee football, to the end of your Hall of Fame NFL career. I mean, that is absolutely mind-boggling. I understand why these guys are so emotional when they get drafted. I understand why making it into the Hall of Fame is such an incredible honor. A lot more from doing this study. I always felt like that their ultimate respect is deserved to these athletes, and even though I make a living kind of talking shit about them, it's kind of a compliment that I have stooped to a level where I make a living talking shit about you. That means that you are on to something, my friend. Anyways, we all do it. We all like to talk sports. It's a part of life. And this kind of stuff really humbles you. It makes you realize what these guys went through to get there, and maybe you shouldn't be so quick to just jump down their throats when they drop a pass. Although, Quentin, if you drop another pass, I'm going to lose my fucking mind. I'm going to go down on the field myself. I'm just kidding. Anyways, this video is proof you could make it to the Hall of Fame. I am saying there is definitely still a chance if the ball doesn't lie in your favor. 0.00031% of the time it goes your way, maybe you can make it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Here are the 5 best and the 3 worst NFL draft picks of 2025, according to me. Of course, I want to know what your favorite picks were and your least favorite picks were at the end of the video, but I'm going to be going over mine right now, starting with my 3 least favorite picks first. We got to start with the bad news, right? We can't just jump straight into the good news. I got to save that candy for later. My 3rd least favorite pick of the night, and one that really confused me, was the Falcons. And it's kind of a combo of things. They, for one, drafted edge rusher. The smaller edge rusher, Jalen Walker, who I think could be the next Nolan Smith. There's a chance. He came from the same school. He's got a lot of the same attributes, but all the problems and concerns you have with Nolan Smith, they were there with this kid, and he hasn't proven it in the NFL yet that he can be that level of player. And even Nolan Smith is in a rotation of pass rushers. Is he worth a top 15 pick like that, or top 16 pick like that? And then what made it even more confusing is they didn't just sit put in the 2nd round and draft another defensive lineman, which they do need defensive line. I'm not arguing about that. They trade up, spend another 1st round pick, give it to the Rams, which congrats to the Rams, by the way, for that, because they are in prime position for Archie Manning or for whoever the best quarterback is next year. Trade up, go get him, back up Matthew Stafford for a year, and then off to the races with Sean McVay in 2027 and beyond. Oh my God. The Rams are so beautifully set up. But anyways, back to what I'm saying about the Falcons. Trading up for this edge rusher who was falling in the draft. I mean, this wasn't your highest rated edge rusher. You already drafted an edge rusher in the 1st round. Why couldn't, if you're going to go double edge rusher, which I'm not completely against double edge rusher, because you got both, you get both sides going. That can be impactful if both guys hit. Why would you just stay in the second round and draft whoever your best edge rusher available is at that spot? Why would you spend a third first-round pick on this? So now you spent 3 first-round picks on 2 players. You better hope those motherfuckers are stars. You better hope that neither one busts, because it might ruin the other one too. The idea is that James Pierce, who's the bigger pass rusher, is going to run quarterbacks probably into Jalen Walker, who's the more athletic, probably the closer, the wolf of the pass rush room. My problem is I think James Pierce is still quite unpolished. I think he still needs to develop some NFL-level pass rush moves, and I think that he's not ready to just dominate day one. So that could be an issue for them when teams start running straight at him. You have to be good in run defense. You're going to have to be good consistently, play after play in pass rush for this to work out. You really are. Or they might run at the smaller guy. They might run the other direction, and now they're plowing over the other edge. There is the element that Jalen Walker could back up and play off-ball linebacker, but then you really got me twisted. You're drafting an off-ball linebacker who's not naturally an off-ball linebacker in college No, I don't think that would make sense either. He has to play edge rusher mostly. He might switch, but he's got to play edge rusher mostly. My second least favorite one that confused me of the 2025 NFL draft, the Bucs drafting Emeka Egbuka. And don't get me wrong, I think Emeka Egbuka is a great wide receiver. I think he's going to be like the mix of JSN and a lot of these route runners. Amari Cooper. I mean, he is a very well-rounded route runner. This guy can do it all. He can run at the middle. He can run routes to the middle of the field, short range, and down the field, all at the same level. I think that he justified being a first-round pick. I had him as one of my top receivers in the draft. But for the Bucs, who re-signed Chris Godwin, you have Mike Williams there, or not Mike Williams, Mike Evans there, complete brain fart, got the Chargers on the brain. Trey Palmer is still there. Unless they don't view Trey Palmer the way I do. And Jalen McMillan was one of the breakout young receivers last year. And now you draft someone that's definitely better than those two guys. I'm not saying he's not, but bury those guys in the depth chart when you already had that going for you. And you re-signed Chris Godwin. And you re-signed Mike Evans. And all the Bucs fans, I've already kind of put this take out on the internet a little bit, tested it out, tested the waters. All the Bucs fans are trying to tell me, well, Mike Evans is going to retire one day and Chris Godwin's going to retire. You're telling me you want them to retire within the next 2 to 3 years? I don't. And I'm not a Bucs fan. I want them to play longer than that. I think Chris Godwin's getting up there in age. Mike Evans getting up there in age, but these guys are in through 2027. Are we talking about drafting a receiver in the first round now that isn't going to pay off until 2027? When the Bucs have a roster that can really compete in the NFC right now. They fumbled away their playoff run last year. Like, they dropped the ball. Literally, they would have won. They would have eliminated the Commanders and maybe been the team that goes to the NFC title game versus the Lions instead. Or not the Lions. Goes against the NFC title game against the Eagles instead. There is a chance that they were the teams that upset the Lions on the way to the NFC title game if Baker doesn't fumble that ball. And I don't see how drafting a wide receiver here is going to help you in the NFC race very much when you already are really strong at that position. You also have Cade Otton at tight end. You have very good receiving backs in place, 2 of them. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense for me if you're going to be an all-in team going for a Super Bowl with Baker Mayfield next year. I would have added depth, if anywhere, to the O-line and the D-line. That's where I would have went if I was the Bucs, or I would have just went straight secondary. Let's just keep piling up in the secondary with Winfield and all our guys. I think that they might have made a mistake here for this season. Yeah, this is going to work out in the future because Egbuka is going to be a good receiver for the Bucs. He is. You're pushing Mike Evans out the door, though. Things start to slide a little bit. I guess you're worried about Chris Godwin getting injured again. You probably shouldn't have signed him then. You probably should have just drafted the receiver. This is truly, though, I don't think that this is the Bucs' fault. The Bucs truly went best player available. They really did. That was truly a best player available pick. They threw needs out the window, and they said this receiver should have been in the top 12 in most drafts. We're going to take him. In this weird Travis Hunter, McMillan class where these guys are the 2 top receivers, and Egbuka sliding. He's going to be the JSN of this class. And I think that they made the right choice in a sense for their future. If I was the Bucs, I'm pushing the chips in. Give me another pass rusher. Give me an extra guard in case someone goes down. Give me a corner or a safety. We need extra bodies in those spots. We're good at receiver. If anything, we showed last year Baker Mayfield had a 4,500-yard season without Chris Godwin. And Bucs linemen going down left and right the last couple years. We'll see what happens with the Bucs. The ball won't land on that one. All right, let's talk about my least favorite draft pick, and honestly my least favorite draft. of all teams in the entire NFL draft. The New Orleans Saints, man, I have no idea what they're doing. Maybe they are tanking to try and get in position to get the Manning bro. But to use a second-round pick on quarterback Tyler Show, someone that no one had even really heard of because of injury concerns and issues that he had in college, to use a second-round pick on him? Are we just like purposely trying to disrespect Shedeur? Was that what they were doing? Like, what did Jalen Milroe do to not deserve this pick by the Saints? When you put these two guys on tape, I see what they see in Show in this kid. I see some of the glimpses of talent that he could be. That he could be this weird, like, really big gunslinger. How many times do we see that work out in the NFL? Josh Allen? Are we saying he's going to be Josh Allen? No, he's not going to be Josh freaking Allen. He's not going to be better than Shedeur Sanders. He's not going to play over Spencer Rattler or Derek Carr. And you drafted him with a second-round pick. Also, the Saints went O-line in the first round, which I'm not completely against. Their O-line has been makeshift, and Derek Carr can't do anything under pressure. That's like his biggest weakness, and he's brittle and easily injured. So I'm not super mad about drafting O-line in the first round. I would have taken Shedeur Sanders here. Or I would have waited. Why not wait, right? Draft a position of need that you have coming up, a lot of them for the Saints, not quarterback first, and just wait on Shedeur Sanders. He slid into the 5th round. You could have got him in the 4th. You could have got him in the 3rd. You know, you say hindsight's 20/20, Mike. You don't need hindsight to know this shouldn't have been a second-round pick. You don't. And if this ages terribly and this kid ends up being an absolute superstar, I'll eat my fist. I'll eat my fist on this podcast one day. But I am telling you that the Saints are going to regret this pick. This kid's either not going to be able to stay healthy enough to get on the field, and when he gets in the field, he's going to try the shit that you see on tape. It's not going to work in the NFL. It's not. I think Derek Carr is going to be their quarterback next year for a very short amount of time till he's either injured or sucks, and it's going to be Spencer Rattler, and it's going to get ugly. And we could see the Saints go for that number 1 overall pick, which I wouldn't be completely against. That would make this work out, I guess, right? If they end up in that spot. I just feel like it's a wasted pick. It's a wasted pick. You could have went quarterback later, and you could have gotten a better quarterback in everyone's eyes and been in a better spot, and still probably been in position for a slide next year in the draft, and had Shedeur Sanders on your roster. My 5 favorite picks of the NFL draft this year, and this is what I want to talk about. I wanted to get out of the negativity, and let's just transition with Shedeur Sanders to the Cleveland Browns as my 5th favorite draft pick of the draft. And a lot of people are either completely against this slide or saying, no, it's not because of this, or he slid because of that, or he slid because of this or this. Let's just throw it all out the window. He did slide in the draft. It's for whatever reason. I think everyone knows what it really is. You can't be this cocky, arrogant kid to NFL coaches like Brian Daboll or Mike Tomlin. Like, this wasn't the set of teams to be cocky to in interviews and stuff and expect to be drafted by them. Like, it seems like the Giants threw Shedeur off their board. It seems like the Steelers threw him off their board. It seems like the Saints threw him off their board. I think that Cleveland got a first-round talent because of his positional value. I would probably say that Shedeur Sanders is a second-round talent in most QB classes. In this QB class, he was clear QB2 to me, and he was a first-round talent because of the lack of quarterbacks available in this year's draft class. So the Browns got a first-round talent in the 5th round, and I don't even think they planned to. I think they threw him off the board too. And eventually it just got to a point where it's like, hey, we can't just keep letting a guy that we graded as a first-round talent slide to undrafted and to go to any team. The Cowboys, the Dolphins, someone would have taken a 6th, 7th round flyer on him. That was the Browns' last chance to take him. They basically probably told themselves if he's there for that last pick, that was the last pick of their draft, we're going to take him. And they pulled the trigger. And I think bravo to the Browns, because even though they drafted another quarterback, and I think that's absolutely stupid to draft 2 quarterbacks like that, especially when you have Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Deshaun Watson on your roster. Like, you already have 4. Why'd you need a 5th? I don't get that at all. That's what makes me think that this was completely unplanned to take Shedeur Sanders, but can he beat out the QB options ahead of him? Hell yeah. Do I have a higher ceiling for Shedeur Sanders than I do Dylan Gabriel? Hell yeah. So I am going to cheer this pick as if a first-round quarterback slid to the 5th round and the Browns took a first-round quarterback in the 5th round. I'm not going to sit here and try and hate on it. There's no way you can, really. And I honestly think that it's a good thing he got humbled day 1. Think about it. He got humbled now. He got a little taste of the NFL now. He didn't have to go through a whole season of losing. He didn't have to cause problems with his teammates. He didn't have to go through it in the way that everyone expected him to. He got humbled today that this league isn't going to treat you like you're a superstar until you're a superstar, man, even though your last name is Sanders. That's simple. So it's good that he learned this lesson today. And then he ends up in Cleveland. The one thing I do kind of worry is that Cleveland is just never able to get it together for longer than a season straight. So I don't really know how well that is going to go. I am rooting for Shedeur Sanders. I think that it was a great pick. I think that multiple teams make this pick in the 4th round and the 3rd round. I have this pick on my list still. Just being like, the Saints take him in the 2nd round instead of Show. I at least am not complaining about them taking him. At the very minimum. At the maximum, I'm cheering them taking Shedeur Sanders there and giving themselves a possible franchise quarterback, someone that could be the future of face of your team. Anyways, I think the Saints are going to be going for that number 1 overall pick. I think they're going for that Manning. All right, the 4th one. 4th favorite NFL draft pick of 2025. Call me biased. Call me whatever the fuck you want to call me, but it is in the 2nd round. The Chargers got Lad 2.0. They drafted Trey Harris out of Ole Miss, and man, is this going to be fun to watch because he literally is a receiver that is just so well-rounded. It's so beautiful. The one thing about Lad has everything. Everything. Down the field playmaking, short to intermediate route running, very good hands, through contact. Beautiful. Lad is an amazing wide receiver. He has everything but the size. And Trey Harris isn't a giant dude, but Trey Harris has everything. He has the speed. He has the route running ability to hit all levels of the field, out routes, in routes, everything. He can play slot and he can play X. You drafted another Lad, but he's 6 foot. He's 6'1". He's 6 foot. He's a little bit taller. He's a little bit bulkier. He's a little bit more built to be an outside wide receiver, but he also has the skill set of a slot wide receiver. I love it because QJ is just going to be strictly out there. Mike Williams, strictly out there. And Keenan Allen, who I think is a handshaked in, can help train this guy. It's one of my favorite picks of the entire draft. It's my 4th favorite pick of the entire draft, and that's an unbiased take here. I think that this is Lad 2.0 with a little bit more height and size for Harbaugh and Justin Herbert to play with, and it's going to pay off as soon as right now in this first season. They also drafted another receiver out of Auburn later in the draft. We're going to talk about the Chargers' full draft review. That's why I have the blue can. We're going to have the Chargers' full draft review coming up next, actually. Oh, no, 2 segments from now. All right, let's talk about my 3rd favorite, Mike Green. He slid all the way down to the 2nd round, the guy that was probably like a top 15 talent in this year's draft, to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I don't know the details of the SA cases and the things that he's dealing with off the field. He has been cleared of all of them. I do know that. Not cleared, but he was not guilty of the accusations that have been put on him. Something happened to him in high school and he got accused, and something happened to him in college and he got accused, but he has never been charged. It has not gone that far. I think teams are very, very cautious of this because they know about Justin Tucker. They see what's happening with Deshaun Watson. Like, this comes up later as an even bigger problem than it even is right now. He could get sued and he could just be out of the league. He could just be done. And that's the big concern here with Mike Green. It's why he slid into the 2nd round. It's not his talent. It's not what he can do on the field. He is a perfect fit for the Baltimore Ravens. This guy has unbelievable agility and bend off the edge. Like, tackles are going to have problems. He went to the senior day, or to the senior game, Senior Bowl, and absolutely was just embarrassing. A bunch of NFL caliber tackles there. So I don't want to hear none of the nonsense about he came from Marshall and that's why he put up all these numbers and he was so good. If he could just pick a solid woman, this dude would be maybe the next Ravens great defensive player. I really think that. That's why I have him at 3, because the Ravens are an organization that can get this kind of stuff handled. It's not great timing to say that because of the whole Justin Tucker situation, but they usually are able to keep their team together and keep their heads screwed on straight. Like, Lamar Jackson is a great role model to follow if you're trying to just have a picture-perfect NFL stardom life. Lamar Jackson is viewed as a role model in the NFL community, rightfully so. He's focused on football and football only. If Mike Green can become Lamar, with the attitude, the mentality, the Ravens drafted another star. And then they drafted a safety in round 1, too. They drafted Malachi Starks, right? Travis Hunter up next as my 2nd favorite pick, just because the Jaguars saved all of us. They saved all of us from seeing the Browns ruin Travis Hunter's career. And I just said Shedeur Sanders was one of my favorite picks to the Browns because he was in the 5th round. All right? It's a lot different than the Browns taking Travis Hunter at number 2 overall, where they continue to ruin top picks like that after top pick like that. over and over and over again. And Travis Hunter is like a video game character. He's a freak of nature. He's a one-of-a-kind prospect. I did not want him to go to Cleveland. Sorry, Browns fans. At all. So when that news broke through, I mean, we were live for it. You saw it. I just started looking up at the heavens. I was like, thank you. You just saved a whole man's life, career. The Jaguars are much better of an organization to go to. But I think, like Jalen Ramsey, you can get out of the mud there a lot easier than you can Cleveland. And we've seen so many careers go and die in Cleveland. The Browns probably wouldn't have used Travis Hunter the way he needed to. I don't think he wanted to go to the Browns. I think that's why this happened too. I think that if Travis Hunter was adamant about being a Brown, he wanted to go 2 overall, knowing Cam was going to go 1, he would be a Brown. But he was very adamant about playing both ways. You kind of know the Browns have corners, right? He doesn't need to play both ways if he goes to the Browns. He was adamant that he wanted to play for a team that wants to win. The Jaguars aren't much better, but they got Trevor Lawrence. I mean, that's a good start compared to the shit show that's going on at quarterback in Cleveland. So this is my second favorite pick because Travis Hunter's career got saved by this trade. And then my number 1 favorite pick of the entire draft is wide receiver Shedeur McMillan to the Carolina Panthers. I mocked this, which is why I also have it as my favorite pick because I felt like it was such a perfect fit for Bryce Young. And I am rooting for Bryce Young. If you tuned into the channel at all, I have my doubts in the Panthers, but I want Bryce Young to be the franchise quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. I think what's going to happen is he's going to be just good enough to be traded, get to another team, the Panthers are going to start rebuilding. They just aren't ready to really compete yet in the NFC, even though they have a lot of young guys like McMillan here. But McMillan gives them a saving grace. He gives them a chance that Bryce Young has that kind of crazy season. Because it's time to extend or trade Bryce Young. You got to make a decision now, this season. So this is going to help you make that decision. That's why it's such a good pick. Because even if you decide to move on from Bryce Young, let's say you trade him to the Rams for one of the first-round picks they just got. Or not even. Probably a second-round pick. But anyways, you trade him to the Rams, which is the team I keep pointing out for Bryce Young. This team I want to see him go to. I think the Panthers could draft a young quarterback out of one of these next few classes, which there's 2 loaded classes as of today, what it looks like. And you'll have McMillan. You'll have Xavier Legette. You'll have Jonathan Brooks hopefully getting healthier or just Chuba Hubbard still rocking. You get more time to keep rebuilding that O-line. The defense obviously needs some more work. The defense is coming together, actually. Panthers could be going in the right direction with or without Bryce Young with this pick. Another layer to this, and it's going to be a TikTok, so here you go. If you're a YouTube subscriber, you're getting a little exclusive. Think about this, right? The Bucs get Mike Evans, this big, dominant, down-the-field weapon. Just consistent, model consistency. Always there for his quarterback. In all situations, contested, route running, short yardage, medium yardage, he's there for his quarterback. So what did the Falcons do? They copied him. They drafted Drake London, a Mike Evans prototype. Maybe even more athletic than Mike Evans. Especially when we talk about what he can do with his body and twisting in the air to go and get the ball. And it's like, okay, well, what if Drake London was a lot faster and could do all that? Well, that's Brian Thomas Jr. The Jaguars drafted Brian Thomas Jr., also in the same division. And now the Panthers are going with Shedeur McMillan, who is also that big body style wide receiver. His comp is like Drake London or Mike Evans. It's pretty insane to see 4 teams in the division draft like the same prototype at wide receiver over and over and over again as their franchise wide receivers. Pretty exciting. What's going to happen with all these picks? Will I be right on whether these work out and my favorite picks, my least favorite picks don't work out? The ball won't lie on that one. Unbiased grades to every single Los Angeles Chargers 2025 NFL draft pick. If you guys don't know, I'm obviously a Chargers fan, a diehard Chargers fan for life. I have not gone over the draft so far, at least on camera, and recorded my reactions to every single pick. So I'm going through pick by pick here. I'm just going to give a F to A grade for every single pick. My honest, unfiltered thoughts. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all and tell y'all that it's just the Chargers going to win the Super Bowl no matter what. But I am going to give you honest grades, honest thoughts on every single pick. If you're a Chargers fan, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you're not a Chargers fan, let me know what you think in the comments section below. Starting with the Chargers' first round pick, and they drafted running back Omarion Hampton. Omarion Hampton is a Los Angeles Charger, and I wasn't super excited about drafting running back in the first round. I did not think we were going to draft running back in the first round. I thought it was a very deep running back class. I'm probably going to be getting running back in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round. Well, the draft board it felt terrible for us Chargers fans. If you're a Chargers fan tuning into this, like, I think that the best options for the Chargers were either tight end, one of those two guys fall, either Warren or Colson Loveland. But really, it was D-line. There was a great opportunity for the Chargers to end up with Derek Harmon or end up with Kenneth Grant. And those two players were my two favorite players in this year's draft class. I wanted Derek Harmon or I wanted Kenneth Grant. I mean, other than Colson Loveland, but that was always a pipe dream. Just throwing that out there. I never actually thought Colson Loveland was going to fall to 22 or the Chargers were interested in trading up. I really thought it was going to be a defensive tackle or possibly an edge rusher. And we talked about Mike Green earlier in the podcast. I would have been excited if the Chargers drafted Mike Green there. So that's pretty insane to see that he went all the way back, I think, at pick 40, double the picks later. So I kind of wanted them to go defensive line. I was not in on the running back thing. I have Melvin Gordon trauma, but we've got to remember that Melvin Gordon was not the prospect that Omarion Hampton is at running back. He never was, and then he went into a situation that wasn't really set up perfectly for him, and then he got bad luck that an undrafted running back will become one of the highest scoring fantasy running backs of all time in Austin Eckler. And even Melvin Gordon said himself, like, I should have just stayed with the Chargers. I should have kept bolting up. I should have stayed there. I just think that the board fell terrible for the Chargers. They did not want to go running back either. Maybe they did. Maybe they didn't. You can even tell when you're watching the draft that they might have been taking trade offers up until the last second, up until the very last second before they had to make the pick. We used the entire clock to make this pick. All signs point that the Chargers did not have their slam dunk pick available on the draft board still, and that probably multiple of our top picks available in the draft got taken, and there was no consensus to take here. So they went with the best player available, which we could share. That's the philosophy that Joe Ortiz goes off of. And speaking of that philosophy, first, let me just go ahead and say, I think it's a B or a B minus for the first round pick. And it's not their fault. It's not. I think it's just the way the draft board fell. There wasn't the D lineman there that you want. You're going to have to super reach on somebody. Or you're going to have to trade up. Don't really want to do that. You don't need receiver at 22. You could go tight end, but then you're reaching on tight end. You're set at the O-line. I mean, best player available. That's what they end up doing. I'm giving them a B for it. B minus if you're a Chargers hater. I think Hampton is going to be a star for the Chargers. Watching more tape on him since they got the draft pick in. I just hope that the actual pick of running back pays off. Because like I said about Ashton Genty, like I said about other running backs in the past, is that we have a Gibbs-Monty situation with Najee and Omarion Hampton. That's what we're going for. I hope we can reach that level. I hope we can. If we do, this is going to pay off more than a B. That's for damn sure. But anyways, Hampton's going to be a star. No doubt about it. I just hope that he is that level of star. On to round 2, though, where I'm giving the Chargers an A+ for this pick. It was one of my favorite picks of the entire draft, unbiasedly. If I was not a Chargers fan, if I was a fan of another team, I would still say that Trey Harris was an amazing wide receiver prospect that could have been an edge of first-round guy that the Chargers got at pick 55. He could do it all, man. And if you go and watch Jackson Dart's tape, what got Jackson Dart drafted in the first round is a lot of Ole Miss wide receivers getting wide open. Like this one, number 9, Trey Harris. I almost like this pick better than the first round pick. I mean, this is going to pay off, Chargers fans, and Herbie is going to love this guy. This might be our wide receiver 1 down the line. I mean, I know that Ladd is amazing, but when we talk about handling volume, Ladd doesn't really have the build. And I know that Trey Harris doesn't have a giant build either, but it's a lot more NFL style than it is than Ladd's is. He reminds me a lot of like Victor Cruz, but with wheels. Victor Cruz didn't run no blazing speed, but this guy can freaking move. He can fly. But his route running is so smooth. You never see his pad level really change in his cuts. It's beautiful. It is the perfect fit for Herbie. Perfect fit for our offense long term in the post Quentin Johnson and Mike Williams days. I think that they're preparing that Quentin Johnson's not going to get a second contract with the Chargers. So A+ for this pick of Trey Harris to me. Let's move on to round 3, where we end up getting the Oregon defensive tackle that I wanted, but not the one I wanted. I wanted Derek Harmon. We ended up getting James Caldwell, his running mate at DT, and this is what also makes me feel like they wanted Derek Harmon right there, and then the Steelers take him a pick before. Just so painful. I'm giving this one an A. I think Caldwell was the position of need there, and the fact that they went in round 4 and also got Kyle Kennard, a former SEC Defensive Player of the Year, at pick, 125? All Harbaugh's got to do is coach up this guy's run stunts? Get the hell out of here. Absolute steal, giving another A+ for that pick. So, I didn't even say Caldwell. Caldwell's an A. A+ for Kennard. A+ for Trey Harris. And remember last year's draft. The Chargers won the draft last year without a doubt. And we're sitting here with a B-, an A+, an A, an A+. I mean, I am loving the Harbaugh era. I am loving the Joe Ortiz era and the players that they're getting that are steals. And now you go into round 5 here. And this is where you can take more risks. This is where you can be a little bit more ballsy with your picks. And sure enough, they drafted another wide receiver, someone that was loved by the coaching staff reportedly, in Keandre Lambert-Smith, the wide receiver out of Auburn. And if you ask Auburn fans, they'll tell you that this is their best receiver. Some Auburn fans tell you this was their best player last year. This guy's a dog. He has high potential to be a starting wide receiver in the NFL one day as well. But if he doesn't work out, he's a 5th-round pick. This is what you do with your 5th-round picks. This is what you do. You don't draft special teamers like JT Woods and just flush them down the toilet. This is what you do. You give yourself a chance to find a steal. And if it doesn't work out, it's no big deal. Same thing with the tight end pick. I'm giving that a B. I think it's the appropriate risk reward there. I don't see the need for another wide receiver, especially if we have Keenan Allen in a little secret behind-the-scenes handshake deal, hopefully. But Keenan Allen's still welcome with this wide receiver core. We need somebody to mentor these guys still. I don't trust Mike Williams to make it to the whole season. I don't trust Quentin Johnson to fill in for him. So I still want Keenan Allen on the team. But this is the appropriate risk reward. I'm giving this one a B. You move on to the tight end, also picked in round 5. And the Chargers were masterful with their comp picks. They ended up having 9 picks in this year's draft, 10 picks in this year's draft, and used one of them, tight end out of Syracuse. And yeah, he could be the potential future tight end of the Chargers. There's a chance. He's 6'6". I mean, he's got all the physical features. He could be a receiving tight end. But I still think the Chargers are going to be in the market for Mark Andrews. I think they're going to be in the market for Dallas Goedert. If either of those guys are cut, I think they're in the trade market for them too. They want those guys to get cut so they can sign their own deals. And that's why they didn't really press the gas on tight end in the first couple rounds. They have a plan at that position. This guy is just a young guy that can come in and develop behind Tyler Conklin, get in the mix with Tyler Conklin, or behind one of those veterans that I just mentioned. I think that I'll give this pick. He wasn't really on my radar as a tight end that I really wanted the Chargers to draft. So I will be honest, and we'll grade this pick a C+, let's say, because the chances of it working out and being this big hit, I think, are probably pretty small. But hey, I would love to be eating my words and be having another Antonio Gates situation here, who went undrafted, by the way, to the Chargers the last time we had some smart drafters. So hopefully this kid can become that. Now let's talk about some of these extra picks in the 6th round. They just threw a shot at Branson Taylor, the offensive tackle out of Pittsburgh, just a monstrous human, trying to take a stab and find a backup tackle there with him. Maybe a tackle that can play both right and left tackle to go with our versatile offensive line where we got a bunch of tackle guards. And then in round 6 also, 15 picks later, they get the safety R.J. Mickens, who is a perfect prototype, along with Bridges, the defensive back that they drafted out of Florida at 256, the second to last pick of the draft. Both those guys, perfect prototypes to grow behind the DBs we have in our room. Guys, we have so many defensive backs, and we're just going to keep this rotation going. We just keep developing guys, so when we lose guys, we got guys. We lose guys, we got guys. We never run out of guys. Overall, those late round picks, I'm giving them an A because they just go so perfectly with Derwin James, Alohi Gilman, Tony Jefferson, Elijah Molden, Cam Hart, Tarheeb Still. I mean, the Chargers secondary is loaded. It is absolutely loaded. Benjamin St. Juste was signed. Dante Jackson was signed as backups. Guys that were starting in the league last year on teams are going to be our backups at the corner spots. And now you add 2 more DBs in a safety and a corner/safety. We'll see what Bridges ends up being in the long term. Overall, when you look at the totality of the Los Angeles Chargers draft, last year I gave them an A+. I had them rated as number 1 best draft class in the entire draft. I think I had them rated as 4th best draft class this year. Joe Ortiz, Jim Harbaugh, out of the park, baby! Let's go! This is what I'm talking about. Hey, I would have given this an A+ if we get the tight end position like solidified, but I don't know how you do it. I don't know where they would have done it. You would have lost Trey Harris, lost Caldwell, or lost Kennard, one of those three. That's the only way. If they get Mason Taylor, or if they get Arroyo, or one of the other tight ends I really liked, that is the only way I would have given them an A+. I don't see how they could have gotten them. Maybe trade up. Trade up with one of their, with these 6th round picks. That's the only way possible they could have gotten an A+ from me. Absolutely amazing. You can't have it all. You can't have it all. You can't ask for it all. I got Caldwell, I got Harris, and I got Hampton. I can't ask for it all. The way the first round fell for us, it wasn't beautiful. It wasn't pretty. But the way the rest of the draft worked out for us, like every draft is going to with Jim Harbaugh with his experience in college football, absolutely amazing. A home run, grand slam, like I said. Bolt up. Let's go, Chargers. This is going to be a fun year. This team won 11 games last year. This is going to be exciting. Everyone's getting 1 year older. Everyone got 1 year of experience. It was one of the youngest teams in the league, I think. And now we get to run it back, year 2 of Harbaugh. I can't wait to see you guys at training camp. It's coming up. Hall of Fame game. Oh, we're going to see a lot of these guys play at the Hall of Fame game. That's going to be super exciting. Chargers versus Packers. I think it's Packers. That's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, I can't wait. I can't wait for the season. Let's go. Bolt fam, let's go. What's going to happen to the Chargers this year? We already know. We're winning 12+. But I guess sooner rather than later, the ball definitely won't lie. All right, let's put our mock draft hats on one last time before the end of NFL draft season, because I asked the AI robot to simulate a first round where every team had to drop all of their players. 1 second, I feel like I'm a little underdressed for this. Much better. Welcome to the 2025 AI Redraft, and with the first overall pick, the Cleveland Browns select quarterback Joe Burrow. So the AI views Joe Burrow as the best, most valuable player in the league right now over Patrick Mahomes, who went second. With the second overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Patrick Mahomes. And I thought that Patrick Mahomes would go 1. And then who went 3? Josh Allen, who I would take at number 1. Josh Allen was taken at 3rd by the Cincinnati Bengals, who lost Joe Burrow at 1st. So I would have had Josh Allen at 1st. I would have taken Josh Allen to the Cleveland Browns, then Mahomes to the Jaguars, and then Burrow maybe to the Bengals. But it goes Burrow at 1 to the Browns, then the Jaguars at 2, they get Mahomes, and then at 3, Josh Allen goes to the Cincinnati Bengals. Can you guess who's number 4? Also quarterback. We're continuing the trend here. It's going like we see a lot of NFL drafts go, with the 4th overall pick in the AI redraft. Redraft the league. Rebalance the league. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. Now it all makes sense, right? The Detroit Lions select Lamar Jackson, quarterback, Baltimore/Louisville. So that's pretty exciting. Dan Campbell and Lamar, something that we saw maybe on the books when Lamar was up for trade. Maybe the Lions will be interested in sending Jared Goff again for Lamar Jackson there, but it didn't come to fruition. He ends up staying in Baltimore, but this will be a lot of fun to see those two together. And this one shocked me. The 5th overall pick, instead of the Texans getting C.J. Stroud, the Tennessee Titans select C.J. Stroud, quarterback, their division rival. So they like what they see. At least the AI thinks they like what they see. They pick C.J. Stroud to Tennessee. Next up, the Arizona Cardinals take the first non-quarterback. 5 picks go, 5 quarterbacks off the board, and then Jamar Chase, first non-quarterback, wide receiver. Jamar Chase out of Cincinnati Bengals, taken by the Arizona Cardinals. So I guess they enjoy the Marvin Harrison experiment, but they want to see it go to the next level. So they're just going to take Jamar Chase here at 6th overall in the redraft. Next is another non-quarterback. We got T.J. Watt being picked up by the Atlanta Falcons. That's an interesting fit there because the Falcons famously never draft edge rusher. Although this draft, they drafted 2 edge rushers in the first round, which we talked about earlier in the podcast. If you're watching the clipped up version of this, go watch the full podcast after this. If you're watching the full podcast, go watch the clips. Either one. But TJ Watt to Atlanta, who changed their philosophy just for this AI redraft and for this year's NFL draft too. Myles Garrett is picked next by the Carolina Panthers at 8. I don't know exactly how it determined which franchises were the worst, but you can see the theme here. I mean, Cleveland, Carolina is in the top 10. I mean, all the teams that haven't won Super Bowls yet or are new or suck, they're at the top of the list. And we're reverse ordering this so that they're going first. Myles Garrett to the Panthers, which is interesting because I think that was maybe a trade destination for him. One of the few teams that had the cap space to match what the Browns were offering to Myles Garrett. And then at 9, the Houston Texans make the worst pick of the first round, for sure. I don't hate Sauce Gardner. He is not the best corner in the league right now. He's not. He's not the second best corner in the league. Going at 9 to the Houston Texans is stupid. I would rather have Derek Stingley. And it's not to hate on Sauce Gardner. He's a top 5 corner in the league, but this is crazy. We're talking like this is Darrelle Revis in the top 10 of this draft. How are you going to draft him before Kyle Hamilton or Derwin James at safety? AI Robot has lost its damn mind. Justin Jefferson goes next. This is what I'm talking about. It's lost its mind. And I think maybe it was trying to set this up. Like, you AI, I'm on to you. Because Justin Jefferson, with the 10th overall pick. Well, let me say it appropriately. With the 10th overall pick, the Jets, Jets, draft wide receiver Justin Jefferson. Just makes too much sense. His name is Jay Jettas, and he goes to the Jets. I'm on to you, AI. You're trying to mess around here. Next, the first offensive lineman goes off the board. The Minnesota Vikings select Penei Sewell. At 12th, Saints are on, and they reach, and this is coming from a Charger fan, they reach on Joe Alt. So they view Joe Alt as one of the future, the second best, I guess, tackle going forward. He's at right tackle, too. He'd probably be used at left tackle by the Saints, just a hunch. I hope, at least. I hope they use him at left tackle if they draft him at 12th overall in the entire league redraft. By the way, if anyone gets snubbed from this, you have to tell me in the comment section below. Aiden Hutchinson's still on the board, so the Bills run that card up immediately. They know how important it is to have pass rushers in Buffalo up there in the cold. And then the Chargers are on the clock, and Justin Herbert hasn't been taken yet. With the 14th overall pick in the AI redraft, the Los Angeles Chargers select Jaden Daniels. What? No! And I'm not pissed about it. Jaden Daniels came to the Chargers. That might not be a bad thing necessarily, but I'm with my guy Herbert. I understand that the comparison between these guys, it's close, especially Jaden Daniels only having 1 year under his belt, and it is very similar rookie dominance to Herbert's rookie dominance, and of course teams start to figure out, and you're going to have to grow your game. That's what's going to happen to Jaden Daniels next year. So we'll see how he does. You can't just immediately say that he's better than a guy that's played at top 5 level for 4 or 5 straight seasons. You can't. I mean, a lot of people will, but I would take Justin Herbert here, for the record, over Jaden Daniels. I think that I can't think of anyone else, right? This is who is between for the Chargers. They probably had to choose between Herbert and Jaden Daniels. Yikes. The Colts at 15th select wide receiver A.J. Brown. I am noticing that a lot of these players are younger. That is definitely that they took into account the youth of these players, the fact that you're going to have them for longer and not have to worry about them retiring immediately. That's why they would be top picks. That part of this makes sense and is pretty accurate. I don't think this is accurate. I think Micah Parsons probably would have went a little bit earlier than this. But with the 16th overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks sprint that thing up. And they fly it up. Caw-caw! Give us Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons to the Seattle Seahawks. We got a new LOB forming there. I mean, the Legion of Boom was known for their secondary, but really that front seven is what made it so elite and so dominant with those players together. 17th, the Denver Broncos are the team that's building around running back. I think this is the only running back that went in the first round. Saquon Barkley to the Broncos. I was worried about this happening in real life when he moved. Thankfully, it didn't. But, geez, this would be a nightmare for me. One of my favorite players ever to my least favorite team ever, or one of them. Actually, my least favorite team ever is at 18th. At 18th. Congrats, Raiders fans. The Raiders have finally selected a defensive player. And they select cornerback Patrick Surtain, who I would take over Sauce Gardner. Also, from that mention earlier, I didn't want to bring up Pat Surtain's name because I wanted to really let it marinate. So that way, when the Raiders draft a Broncos player, after the Broncos draft Saquon Barkley, it really hits home. And also, when you take into account that it's classic Raiders, classic, to take a DB here, take a corner, after all those years of not taking a corner when your fans wanted you to, with CeeDee Lamb on the board, who goes next to the Washington Commanders at 19th. Max Crosby still on the board. Chicago Bears, who I think have been in the Max Crosby market every time his name has ever been mentioned in trade rumors. 20th overall, Max Crosby is selected. Before my guy Justin Herbert, which I, again, don't agree with, unbiasedly, move Justin Herbert up this board, please. Especially, avoid this. I guess if they have Brian Daboll there, this might work out. Because I wanted Brian Daboll to the Chargers instead of Staley. For the record, with the 21st overall pick, the New York Giants select Justin Herbert. we got something awkward too, because we talked about it earlier in the show. Again, if you're watching the clip, go watch the full episode. All numbers should be unretired. How would you handle this? Are you telling Justin Herbert he can't wear 10 anymore? Because of Eli? Just saying. Full circle. But Justin Herbert to the Giants, I wouldn't like to see that. I like him on the Chargers a lot better. Up next is our LA brothers, recent Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams. And this seems like a perfect pick for Sean McVay. He's going with Amon-Ra St. Brown at 22. I don't think Nick Bosa will be mad at all getting picked by the Dolphins. He's going to love playing in Miami, that beach weather. I think him and Joey already work out together in Florida every offseason. Miami Dolphins take Nick Bosa with the 23rd overall pick. Up next, another Florida team is on, and they take Tristan Wirfs. This is where I think the AI got kind of lazy. Because then the Ravens are on. They take the only safety drafted, Kyle Hamilton. And the Packers are on. They draft Jordan Love. All right, AI robot. Did you get lazy or what? Eagles are on. They took Jordan Mailata. Hello? Was there a glitch? Should I rerun this? Can we run it from the jump? Get Justin Herbert back to the Chargers? Can I just cancel the whole thing out? Oh my God. It does get worse. I just was reminded. I did look over this one time before I started the show. With the 28th overall pick, the Kansas City Chiefs are on the clock, and they select wide receiver T. Higgins. So they get T. Higgins after all. After all the drama, them possibly get T. Higgins. He ends up there in the AI redraft. And the 49ers are on the clock next. I think they're the fourth to last pick here with the 29th overall pick. Kyle Shanahan is taking quarterback Jalen Hurts. Oh my gosh. The Eagles take Jordan Mailata, and then they take Hurts. Who's the engine of the Eagles? Looks like the AI is saying it's possibly the other players, not the quarterback. At 30, I don't know about the Cowboys drafting linebacker here, but they are. San Francisco 49ers linebacker Fred Warner becomes a Dallas Cowboy. We'll see if they draft George Pickens later in the draft or not. And 31 tells you that they can't draft George Pickens later in the draft. This is not going to happen. The fact that this is the pick on the day George Pickens got traded is crazy. With the 31st overall pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers select George Pickens. I am baffled. They would never do that. Mike Tomlin literally traded him away. He traded him away today. This would never happen. He would never draft that guy again. If he ever sees anyone staring at a TV like this, he's going to cut them. But he doesn't care if they're a first or second round pick. And then the final pick of the first round of the AI redraft is a good one. The New England Patriots, the greatest franchise of all time, select tight end Brock Bowers. Right down there, freaking calling card. Gronk, Spike. Brock, Spike. One syllable, Spike. That's the Patriot way. Mike Vrabel is bringing that back. Whew. What a show. Can't wait to have my friend Tony Tucker back next week. I think he's going to be on Monday or Tuesday. The episode will come out Wednesday or Thursday. I will see you guys there for that full episode. If you guys haven't subscribed to the channel yet and you've watched 2 hours of me yapping, please subscribe to the channel before you go to make it worth it. And make sure you like the video. Do not forget, it's the free way you can support all of my content. What's going to happen to all of these NFL draft prospects? What's going to happen to all of these teams? I guess sooner rather than later. The ball definitely won't lie.
Bill Flames, I went Mike on the mic. With something brand new, one time for your mind. He gave you fair warning. Now it's time to smack him in the mouth with that raw sports talk from the town. Sweet chin music to your favorite sportscaster.